After the Cold War, the United States and Russia joined forces to create the International Space Station, or ISS, as a symbol of their teamwork. This space station is not just a symbol, but also a research hub, where the crew focuses on studying medicine, technology, and space exploration. Over the years, American and Russian astronauts have collaborated seamlessly on the ISS, working together harmoniously despite their different political views. American astronauts Kira and Christian used the Soyuz rocket transport to journey to the ISS. Upon docking, Christian explains to Kira that the Russians use 3 knocks to signal safety to others. Once inside, they meet the rest of the crew, including Commanding Officer Gordon, Weronika, and brothers Nikolai and Alexei. Gordon is American, while the other 3 are Russian. Weronika, having spent 50 days on the station, catches Kira's attention due to her close bond with Gordon. Weronika, a positive woman, emphasizes the crew's top rule, sticking together. Following a friendly reception, Gordon takes Kira on a tour of the International Space Station, showcasing various areas, including her sleeping quarters. He mentions the initial challenges of sleeping in space, where astronauts can either secure themselves in a sleeping bag or learn to float in their quarters. Advising Kira to use a sleeping bag until she adjusts, Gordon highlights the constant hum as the life support system, underscoring that silence could indicate trouble. Moving on, Gordon familiarizes Kira with her workstation and the lockboxes used to secure research. Providing her with a key for the American locks, he mentions the option to use Russian cabinets, but emphasizes the need to trade keys. Eager to get started, Kira immediately begins her work, bringing out a few mice in a cage for her experiments. Upon observing the close quarters, Alexei remarks on their upcoming collaboration due to the proximity of their workstations. Kira, having perused Alexei's research, inquires about his experiments, only to learn that he has lost all his mice. After Kira shifts to another room, Alexei examines her setup more closely. Meanwhile, as some crew members engage in exercise routines, Kira observes Christian's experiment with a fire-spraying drill, finding it both impressive and unnerving. During dinner, Christian presents gifts from Earth while Nikolai unveils a bottle of alcohol. In a comical mishap, Kira unwittingly triggers the release of alcohol bubbles, eliciting laughter from the group. Following dinner, the crew convenes at the viewing deck, treating Kira to a breathtaking panorama of Earth. The conversation shifts to the overview effect, a profound awakening experienced by astronauts when they witness Earth devoid of borders, fostering a sense of unity among humanity. That evening, Kira notices one of the crew members sleeping by, floating, sparking her anxiety. Thankfully, Weronika consoles her and assists in securing her to the sleeping bag for her first night, noting the challenge of not having someone to hold in space. The following morning, the crew commences their work early. Christian attempts to use the computer, but the signal is down, preventing them from sending messages. While checking on her mice, Kira discovers they have engaged in aggressive behavior towards each other, leaving her perplexed. Feeling disheartened, she retreats to the viewing deck to gaze at Earth, only to witness a massive eruption. Initially mistaking it for a volcanic eruption, she alerts the others, but soon multiple explosions occur in rapid succession across various locations. The crew, overcome by panic, swiftly exits the deck and seals it shut before attempting to establish contact with Earth, to no avail. Suddenly, Gordon receives a message from Mission Control, instructing him to maintain silence due to the classified nature of the information. Amidst escalating tensions, it is revealed that the United States and Russia are embroiled in conflict, with investigations underway regarding the involvement of other nations. The U.S. government issues a directive for its citizens aboard the International Space Station to terminate all experiments and seize control of the station through any means necessary. In his quarters, Nikolai receives a message, prompting Gordon to speculate whether he received a similar order. Anxious, Nikolai responds to the message with a single word, "Why?" just as the power abruptly cuts out, only to be swiftly restored. Gordon feigns inability to establish contact with Earth, but once he finds a moment alone with Kira and Christian, he divulges the truth. Christian immediately assumes that the Russians received similar orders and blames them for the power outage. However, Gordon cautions against jumping to conclusions and advises patience. Soon, Weronika delivers alarming news. The station has lost its internal propulsion and is plummeting out of orbit. They have merely a day before the station faces incineration upon re-entry into the atmosphere. Discussion ensues about utilizing the Soyuz rocket as an escape mechanism, but the limited capacity triggers a heated debate among the crew about who should evacuate first. In a bid for assistance, Kira dispatches a message to Mission Control, hoping desperately for prompt propulsion aid. As they await a response, Alexei interrupts with alarming news. An external antenna requires immediate manual repair due to damage. Christian dismisses it as a ruse, but Gordon steps forward to tackle the task despite the risks. As Gordon gears up, Weronika bestows upon him a kiss for luck. Meanwhile, Christian expresses his apprehensions about a potential trap in hushed tones, but Gordon reassures him, placing unwavering trust in the crew. Stepping into the void outside, Gordon is met with a harrowing sight. The United States, once familiar, now burns a vivid crimson, signaling its devastation. Through the communication system, Gordon urgently implores Kira to keep the crew away from the windows. While Christian and Alexei attempt to converse, the air is heavy with tension and suspicion. Alexei excuses himself, claiming a need to use the bathroom. However, once Christian departs, Alexei emerges and accesses a panel, preparing to tamper with the wires. Despite his intentions, he hesitates. Meanwhile, Gordon maneuvers carefully around the station as Kira engages him in conversation to ease his nerves. After minutes of slow progress, Gordon nears the antenna, only for Alexei to cut a crucial wire, severing Gordon's communication with the station. Kira alerts the others, prompting Christian to realize Alexei's absence. Hastening to inspect the panels, Christian finds no evidence of sabotage, as Alexei has disguised his actions with fake wires. Meanwhile, Gordon faces another challenge. His tether falls short of reaching the antenna. Forced to disconnect it, Gordon takes a risky leap, only to find the antenna intact, confirming Christian's suspicions. In a sudden twist, Nikolai triggers the grabber arm, sending Gordon floating off the station into space. Kira and Veronica feel panicked as they cannot reach Gordon or see him on the cameras. Christian peers out the windows and spots Gordon drifting away, prompting them to try pulling the tether, only to find it empty. Distraught, Kira retreats to her room to cope with her sadness. When Christian comes to comfort her, Kira expresses her desire to rescue Gordon, believing his suite will keep him alive for a while. However, Christian assures her it's not practical. He also scolds her for considering it an accident, emphasizing that the Russians are at fault. Meanwhile, Veronica confronts Alexei and Nikolai, discovering they received orders from Russia to remove the Americans and take control of the ISS. Alexei claims he only meant to disrupt communications and didn't know Nikolai's intentions. To defend himself, Nikolai argues that the Americans would reciprocate, but Veronica is appalled, branding him a monster. Like Kira, she yearns to locate Gordon, but the brothers refuse assistance, leaving Veronica heartbroken and seeking solace in another room, where she breaks down. Later, Veronica seeks a private conversation with Kira, recognizing her as a newcomer and the only one she trusts. Veronica proposes exchanging keys, but Kira claims to have lost hers, prompting Veronica to sense deception. Both women confess receiving government orders, and Veronica reveals the brothers' role in Gordon's demise, prompting Kira to agree to help. Veronica devises a plan. She will create a diversion while Kira uses the Russian key to access Alexei's box, containing samples potentially beneficial for treating radiation poisoning. Earth is engulfed in nuclear conflict, with their respective governments vying to exploit research as leverage. However, Veronica advocates for universal access to cures, stressing the significance of samples stored in Node 0. After exchanging keys, Veronica seizes the fire drill gun and activates pure oxygen in one of the chambers, threatening destruction. While Nikolai and Alexei attempt to reason with her, Kira ventures to the research lab in search of Node 0, but to no avail. Seeking clarity, she questions Christian, who denies its existence, leading Kira to believe Veronica deceived them. Enraged, Kira confronts Veronica, with Christian trailing behind. They arrive just in time to witness Veronica striking Alexei with a wrench. Seizing the opportunity, Christian shatters a tank against the back of Veronica's head, instantly incapacitating her. Alexei and Nikolai are left in shock as Christian explains he had no alternative, as Veronica posed a threat to the station's safety by her intent to detonate it. As Alexei and Nikolai mourn Veronica, Christian persuades Kira to remain hidden until communications are restored. Eventually, Nikolai reaches a breaking point, declaring it his duty to put an end to the chaos. On Earth, the devastation continues to escalate, with flames and destruction spreading. Seeking solace, Alexei turns to alcohol, but when he glances at the screens, he spots Gordon floating nearby, still alive. He swiftly employs the grabber arm to carefully retrieve him back inside the station. Meanwhile, Kira and Christian conceal themselves among the luggage. When Nikolai begins to search the area, Christian distracts him by tossing his fidget toy in the opposite direction. Seizing the opportunity, Kira emerges and inadvertently encounters Alexei, who aids her in finding a new hiding spot and deceives his brother. As the toy floats by again, Nikolai finally locates Christian, prompting a physical altercation. When Nikolai moves to attack, Alexei intervenes, bearing the brunt of the assault. Reacting swiftly, Kira tackles Nikolai to free Christian, only to become the target of his aggression as he begins choking her. Suddenly, Gordon appears and incapacitates Nikolai with the drill. Following the revelation of Veronica's death, Gordon, consumed by rage, confronts Nikolai and locks himself in a room with him, leading to a fierce struggle. Amid punches thrown and a chaotic tussle, Gordon loses the drill, and Nikolai seizes it, turning it on and impaling Gordon. In a final act of defiance, Gordon grabs a screwdriver from Nikolai's pocket and stabs him in the neck. Despite attempts to open the door with a drill, both men succumb to their injuries, their lifeless bodies drifting in the sealed room. As the world continues to burn, the remaining astronauts privately grieve for their fallen comrades. Eventually, Kira discovers a distressing sign indicating Node 0, revealing that Christian, not Weronika, had been deceptive. Confronting Christian, Kira demands an explanation and stumbles upon evidence of his intentions to escape alone, with samples prepared in an escape suit. It becomes evident that Christian had been aware of the situation all along and had orchestrated plans to leave the station without the others. At that critical moment, the life support ventilation fails as part of Christian's scheme. Kira urgently seeks out Alexei to warn him, but he is in the same room as Christian. Employing silent gestures, she signals Alexei to turn off the music, and he notices the absence of the usual hum. Using a jar, Kira taps on the table 3 times, signaling to Alexei to be prepared. Unaware of the impending danger, Christian busies himself with making a sandwich. Kira attempts to borrow the knife to make her own, prompting Christian to insist on privacy and try to remove Alexei from the room. When Alexei refuses, Christian grabs the knife and lunges at Kira. In a desperate attempt to protect her, Alexei intervenes, and his hand ends up stabbed. In close proximity, Alexei seizes Christian tightly, restraining him while Kira uses a necklace to choke him. After agonizing minutes, Christian succumbs, leaving Kira to grapple with the weight of having taken a life. Afterwards, Kira helps Alexei with his stab wound, and once he's better, he fixes the life support system. Kira then checks on her mice and finds out that Alexei made a net for them to stay safe. Suddenly, they receive the long-awaited message asking for a boost in propulsion, which helps them get out of immediate danger. Soon, they regain communication with Earth, and both governments inquire if they've taken control of the station. Frustrated and disappointed with their leaders, Kira and Alexei decide to ignore the messages. They use the Soyuz rocket to leave the station, taking Alexei's research with them. As they fall back to Earth, Alexei wonders where they can find safety, but Kira admits she doesn't know. And with this, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for tuning in, guys.